Welcome, traveler. Before we begin, find your place beside the fire. Let its warmth breathe gently against your skin. Feel the slow rhythm of the flame, the soft crackle of wood giving in to ash. Outside, the wind moves low across the frozen earth, humming through the pines like a spirit searching for its name. Now close your eyes. Tonight, we return to a world of smoke and snow, to 9th century Scandinavia, when the gods still watched men from the mountain peaks, and every whisper of thunder might have been the voice of Thor himself. It is early morning. The sun is only a pale wound behind the clouds. Inside the longhouse, the air is heavy with last night's smoke, thick and sweet, mixed with the smell of wool and tallow. The fire pit glows faintly, its coals the color of old blood. Around it, bodies stir beneath for cloaks. A dog sighs in its sleep. Somewhere near the door, a woman hums a waking psalm, half prayer, half habit. I rise slowly, feeling the stiffness in my limbs. The air bites at my skin. I pull a cloak around my shoulders, rough with salt from long weeks near the sea. Beneath my feet, the floor is packed earth scattered with rushes and straw. A few feathers drift where hens have nested by the wall. You can almost smell it, that mingling of smoke, sweat, and wood. It is the smell of life here, honest and close. The hall itself is long and dim. Carved beams rise like ribs overhead, blackened from years of smoke. Shields hang upon the walls, their paint faded by time. Red spirals, wolves' sons. Swords lie in a row near the chieftain's seat, each with its own story whispered in the iron. Outside, you hear the low rhythm of the sea. The village lies near the fjord's mouth, where water meets the wind in endless conversation. The men will go there soon, to check the boats, to mend the nets, to speak of trade and raids and news from the south. But for now, there's quiet. A woman tends the fire, feeding it thin birch sticks until it breathes again. The light grows, dancing over her hair, which gleams like straw in dawn's first silver. Children begin to stir, and soon the hall fills with the soft murmur of waking life. The cough of an elder, the creak of timber, the faint laughter of someone still half asleep. Outside, the world is still cold and white. Frost clings to the thatched roofs, and smoke curls lazily upward. In the distance, raven calls, harsh and lonely. The people pause a moment listening. Ravens are sacred birds, messengers of Odin. Their presence is never ignored. We live by signs here. The flight of a bird, the pattern of frost, the sound the wind makes as it moves through the pines. All are voices, if you know how to hear them. A pagan warrior grows with these sounds. They are part of his blood, his sleep, his dreams. I take my place near the hearth and reach for the morning meal. A wooden bowl of barley porridge, thick and coarse, sweetened with a trickle of honey if fortune allows. I eat slowly, letting the warmth spread through me. Around me, others do the same, speaking little. In this land, silence is not emptiness. It is peace. Afterward, we prepare for the day. Some will tend to the animals, the cows still drowsing in their stalls, the goats stamping their hooves. Others will gather wood, or carve spear shafts, or melt iron in the forge near the edge of the village, where sparks drift into the pale morning like tiny red souls. But I am a man of war. My duty lies with the shield and the sea. My sword, though notched from years of use, is well cared for. I run my thumb along its edge, not sharp enough to cut, but sharp enough to remind me what it is for. You might imagine war as thunder, as roaring chaos. Yet most days it is quiet, long hours of training, of waiting, of mending armor. The body learns patience, and fear becomes something ordinary, like hunger or cold. Still, we are human. We laugh, we drink, we fall in love. We dance when mead is poured and songs rise to the beams. There is warmth in this life, fierce and brief as fire. The women are strong, their hands calloused from work, their eyes clear and steady. They keep the homes, raise the children, heal the wounded, and speak with the gods in ways men rarely understand. The bond between man and woman is not softness here. It is partnership, born of survival. At night, when the hall fills with music and light, you can feel it, the closeness of people who share the same hunger, the same fear of winter, the same fragile joy of being alive. If you close your eyes, you might hear the hum of the lyre, the slow rhythm of a drum, the laughter echoing through the rafters. You might taste the mead, golden, smoky, bitter, and sweet all at once. This is life before the cross came to the north, a world of gods and ghosts, of love and death interwoven like threads in a tapestry. And so begins the day of a pagan warrior. The sky pale, the sea breathing, the smell of salt, the weight of steel, the warmth of the hearth fading behind as he steps into the wind. The story has only just begun. The light grows slowly in these northern lands. It is never in a hurry, as if the sun itself knows how hard the world beneath it must live. By the time I step outside, the frost crunches beneath my boots. The air is sharp, clean, and still heavy with the taste of smoke from every hearth in the village. Our homes rise low from the earth, their walls of timber darkened by time, their roofs heavy with thatch. Each house holds a family, men, women, children, and the quiet ghosts of those who came before. We greet the morning not with words, but with nods, the way you'd greet an old friend you've known your whole life. The village dogs bark lazily, tails wagging in the chill. A few hens peck at the frozen ground, stubborn and half-starved until spring. Down by the water, the boats rest on their bellies, black and silent. Some are pulled far ashore, their hulls turned to the wind, patched with fresh tar and wool. Others float tethered at the edge of the fjord, rocking gently as if dreaming of distant shores. I run my hand over the side of one longship, the wood cold and slick beneath my palm. Its name is Rafsvaka, the Raven's Wake. The name came to me in a dream, after a raid when we lost 3 good men. I carved their runes into the mast myself, to keep their spirits close. You see, to us, ships are not things. They are living beings, souls of oak and iron, fed with sweat, tears, and the breath of the wind. When we set sail, we speak to them like brothers. Around me, others are already working. The blacksmith hammers at his forge, the sound echoing through the crisp morning air. Each strike rings like a heartbeat, steady, purposeful. Sparks rise, bright as stars, before vanishing into the cold. Nearby, boys carry logs to the beach, their breath clouding in the air. The women gather near the drying racks, cutting fish with quick, practiced hands. You can smell it, the sharp salt of herring, the faint sweetness of smoke. A child laughs, chasing a chicken through the mud, his feet bare and pink from the cold. Life here is work always, but in the rhythm of that work, there is peace. By mid-morning, the sun breaks through, weak, pale, but enough to bring warmth to the skin. I strip to my tunic and begin my drills. The sword feels right in my hand, its weight familiar, almost comforting. Beside me, my friend Torstein practices with his axe, the broad blade singing through the air. We say little. The sound of breath, of footfalls in the dirt, says enough. Training is a prayer of its own. Each swing is a promise. To your brothers, to your gods, to yourself. You might think our gods demand only blood, but they demand something deeper. Strength, honor, and the courage to meet whatever comes. Odin, one-eyed and wise, wanders through the world in disguise, testing men's hearts. Thor protects the common folk, his hammer the thunder itself. Frey gives the fields their fertility, and Freya walks between love and death with equal grace. When I was young, I feared them. Now I only respect them, for they are like us, flawed, passionate, uncertain. They fight, they love, they lose. Even the gods, we believe, will one day fall. At noon, we gather for food. Barley bread baked over coals, dried fish softened with butter, and a horn of mead passed from hand to hand. The drink burns pleasantly down the throat, a warmth against the cold air. We talk quietly, of weather, of repairs, of the coming trade ships from the south. Sometimes talk drifts toward raids, places we've been, or dream of seeing. The men's voices change then, eyes brightening. They speak of the Irish coast, of Frankish silver, of strange lands where the sun feels different. But under the excitement, there's always the same thing. The knowledge that not all who go return. We live close to death here. It is not cruel. It is constant, like the tide. We do not speak of it with fear, only with respect. When a man dies, we mourn, yes, but also celebrate. His name is carved into wood or stone, his belongings burned or buried beside him. His story is told until it becomes part of the air. If you listen now, truly listen, you might almost hear the voices of those stories carried on the wind. They never leave. They simply grow quieter. After the meal, the village quiets. Some mend sails, others carve wood or repair fences. A few young men take to the hills, hunting hare or deer. I often go with them, not for need, but for silence. The forest here is deep, old. Pines rise like pillars, their needles whispering above. The snow beneath crunches softly, and sometimes, when all else is still, you can hear water moving under ice. It's there, in solitude, that I feel closest to the old ways. The gods are not only in temples or stones. They live in the breath of the forest, in the pulse of the sea, in the warmth of firelight against winter's dark. As dusk comes, the smoke from the houses thickens, drifting low. The air fills with the smell of stew, lamb, onions, herbs, simmering slow in iron pots. Laughter begins again, quiet at first, then louder. A good day has passed. Soon torches flicker. The people gather in the hall, drawn by warmth and mead and company. Someone tunes a lyre. The voices blend talk, song, memory. This is our world, simple, harsh, but alive. If you close your eyes now, you can almost feel it. The press of bodies near the fire, the scent of pine and wool, the heartbeat of a living people, bound by faith, by work, by love. We are not so different, you and I. Only the centuries divide us. The night settles deep upon the village. The stars come slowly, one by one, as though waking from the same long sleep that once took our ancestors. The moon is low and red, hanging above the fjord like a quiet eye. The waves glimmer faintly beneath it, sighing against the shore. Inside the longhouse, the air is warm, fragrant with pine resin and cooked meat. Shadows dance on the walls, stretching long and thin between the beams. The fire burns low now, steady and deep. We gather around it, men and women together. The day's labor is done, and what remains is fellowship, that wordless peace that follows honest work. Someone pours more mead, golden and thick, from a clay jug. It foams gently as it fills the horn, and the scent rises, sweet, wild, fermented with honey and the touch of summer long gone. Mead loosens the tongue, but not always the mind. It carries stories like a river carries silt, slow, patient, inevitable. And so the old tales begin. An elder speaks first, his voice low and cracked like old wood. He tells of the beginning, when ice met fire and the world was born from their meeting. He tells of Yggdrasil, the great tree that binds the realms, its roots drinking from wells of wisdom and death. Children listen, wide-eyed, their fingers tracing lines in the straw. The women smile softly, for they have heard these tales since before memory began. The men nod along, each one hearing something different, courage, fate, warning. Our stories are not told to escape the world, but to understand it. Every word is a seed of truth. When the elder finishes, there is a silence, not empty, but sacred. Then the drum begins, slow, steady, heartbeat deep. The seeress rises from her place near the wall. Her hair is streaked with ash and silver, her cloak stitched with charms of bone and amber. She moves like smoke, fluid, knowing. In her hand she holds a staff carved with runes, darkened from years of touch. We watch quietly as she begins her chant. The rhythm of her voice merges with the drum, rising and falling like the tide. Some close their eyes, others rock gently, lost in thought or prayer. It is not worship as you might imagine it. No kneeling, no pleading. It is communion, a moment where the line between man and God grows thin, as if the air itself begins to shimmer. In this state, you feel everything. The heat of the fire on your face, the scent of tallow, pine, and sweat, the faint rustle of someone's breath beside you. All life folds into one simple truth. We are here, together, for a short and precious while. When the chant ends, the hall exhales as one. The seeress speaks softly, slowly. of omens seen and unseen, of storms to come, and blessings yet to be earned. No one questions her. Truth here is not proved, it is felt. Later, when the fire burns low and laughter returns, I step outside. The air bites again, crisp and sharp. The moonlight turns the snow to silver. Somewhere nearby, two lovers slip behind a house, giggling softly. Their footsteps fade into the dark. Love, too, is part of life here, earthy, unashamed. It is not whispered about or hidden. It is celebrated as the joining of bodies and spirits, a way to honor the gods of fertility and life. A man and woman might find each other after a feast, drawn by warmth and laughter, or they may be bound by families, arranged to join lands or keep peace. But love itself, real love, grows like wild thyme in the cracks of stone, unexpected, fragrant, and stubborn. When two hearts choose each other freely, the village rejoices. There's no need for grand ceremony, only the witness of kin and gods, a feast of fire, and shared oaths beneath the open sky. I remember my own union, years ago now. The night was long and bright with torches. She wore a wreath of oak leaves, and her laughter was brighter than the flames. I gave her a blade, and she gave me her braid, a symbol that her fate would now stand with mine. That night, as the fire dimmed and the people drifted away, we lay together in the quiet grass. The stars above were cold and infinite, yet for a moment the world felt small, contained entirely between our breaths. That is how love lives here, without fear, without pretense. A part of the same cycle that brings death in winter and life in spring. Back in the hall, the last of the mead is poured. A man begins a song, slow and rough, his voice trembling like an old door in the wind. Others join, and soon the air fills with harmony, uneven, human, beautiful. If you close your eyes now, you might hear it too. The low hum of voices blending with the fire's soft sigh. The kind of sound that can rock even the weary heart to rest. Outside, snow begins to fall, silent and steady. The flakes catch in the firelight like drifting embers, like spirits returning home. The gods, I think, must look kindly upon nights like these, when men and women live fully, honestly, as they were meant to. For faith is not something separate from living. It is living. The meal, the touch, the song, the death, the dawn, all offerings to the same great mystery. And when the hall at last grows quiet, and sleep begins to claim us one by one, I feel it again. The warmth of belonging, the calm pulse of life beneath the weight of stars. The morning of departure always feels different, even before the sun has lifted. The village seems to hold its breath. Dogs are restless. Ravens call from the roofs. The sea, usually calm in the dawn, moves with an uneasy pulse, as if it knows what is coming. The men gather by the ships, their cloaks pulled tight against the cold. Armor clinks softly, leather creaks. The smell of salt and pitch hangs in the air. Wives, mothers, and children stand nearby, some silent, some whispering short blessings. I watch them carefully, for it is these quiet moments that carry the weight of life. A woman tucks a charm into her husband's belt, carved from bone and marked with a rune for protection. A boy, too young to understand the danger, waves proudly as his father hefts a shield onto his back. We do not weep when parting. Tears belong to the gods, not to warriors. Instead, we touch foreheads, a brief, human gesture that says all that cannot be spoken. When the time comes, we push the ships into the surf. The water bites cold around our legs. The hull groans as it meets the sea, then steadies. The oars slide into place, and the rhythm begins. You can almost hear it. The creak of wood, the splash of oars, the breath of men moving as one. The fjord narrows behind us. Ahead lies the open sea, gray, endless alive. There's no sound like the northern ocean. It moans, whispers, growls. The wind cuts through wool and bone alike, yet within it there's a strange serenity. For a warrior, the sea is both cradle and grave. We travel for days. The stars guide us at night, and the sun at day. When storms come, we lower the sail and trust our hands in God's. Fear visits us often, but never stays long. It has learned that we have no room for it. Sometimes, when the waves calm and the sky clears, I think of home, of smoke curling from the longhouse roof, of laughter around the hearth. These memories keep the heart warm when all else is cold. And then, one morning, we sight the coast. Low hills, green and foreign, smoke in the distance. The time has come. Before we land, we sit in silence. The Jarl speaks softly, his voice steady, measured, reminding us that we do not fight for greed alone. We fight for honor, for survival, for the stories our children will tell when we are gone. The battle itself, it is not what the songs promise. It is confusion, sweat, the smell of iron and blood mingling with earth. The world narrows to sound and breath and heartbeat. When the clash comes, it feels like thunder, shields striking, men shouting names of gods, the air breaking apart with every blow. You cannot think. You can only move. Instinct and training guide the body where the mind cannot follow. And yet, amid that chaos, there are moments of stillness, a brief pause between strikes, where you see a man's eyes, wide, afraid, the same as yours. You realize he too was once a child by a hearth, loved by someone, made of the same fragile clay. It humbles you, even as you lift your blade. When the noise fades and the field grows quiet, we walk among the fallen. Some groan softly, others lie still. Ravens already circle overhead, dark specks against the pale sky. We do not turn away. Death is not hidden here. It is faced, tended, spoken to. We close the eyes of our brothers, whispering short prayers so their spirits find the path to the hall of ancestors. If the enemy fought bravely, we honor him too. A man who dies well deserves remembrance, no matter his tongue or God. Later, when the bodies are laid to rest and the wind moves softly again through the grass, we sit together in silence. No boasting, no shouting, only breath and the faint hiss of the sea. There's peace in that. A strange, heavy peace. The kind that only comes after the storm. That night, we camp near the shore. The fire crackles. The mead is passed from hand to hand, not in celebration, but in gratitude. Each man drinks in turn, his eyes distant, reflecting the flames. We do not speak much. There is nothing to say. We simply exist, alive, breathing, aware of how thin that thread truly is. If you close your eyes now, you might feel that same stillness, the fire's warmth on your face, the salt wind against your cheek, the quiet ache of survival in your chest. For all our stories of gods and glory, this is what it truly feels like to be a warrior. Not triumph, but endurance. Not pride, but understanding. To walk through the valley of death and return with your soul still intact. That is victory enough. When the fire burns low and the men drift into sleep, I lie back on the cold earth and watch the stars. They look the same as they do above my home. Sharp, endless, unmoved. Somewhere among them, I like to believe, the gods are watching. And perhaps, for this one quiet night, they are at peace too. The sea is calmer on the journey back. The oars dip in rhythm once more, but the sound feels different now. Less urgent, more human. The wind, too, seems gentler, as if it knows we have earned our rest. Days stretch long on the open water. Salt dries on our skin. The taste of brine never leaves our mouths. Yet beneath the weariness, there is a strange peace. The kind that only comes after surviving what could have been your end. Sometimes, in the still hours before dawn, I watch the mist rise from the sea. It curls around the hull like smoke, silent and soft. The men sleep, their breath slow, their bodies curled beneath cloaks. The stars above are dim, fading into the pale edge of morning. In that moment between night and day, I feel both alive and ancient. When we finally sight our homeland, the green slopes, the black line of pine, the curling smoke from the longhouses, a deep quiet falls over us. No shouting, no cheering, just stillness. We look, each man lost in his own thoughts. The world we left is waiting, unchanged and eternal. As the boat touches shore, the smell of earth rises, wet soil, pine needles, and wood smoke. It's the scent of home. The village greets us not with triumph, but with relief. Wives and mothers step forward, their eyes searching every face. Some find what they seek, others do not. There are embraces, and tears swallowed behind smiles. A few names are spoken softly, followed by silence. The dead are not forgotten. They simply walk ahead of us now, unseen. We bring gifts, silver, cloth, spices, small treasures from faraway lands. But what the people truly receive is our stories. Around the fire that night, they listen as we tell of strange cities, of fierce battles, of friends lost and found. Yet even as we speak, I know no words can ever truly capture it. Some things belong only to those who lived them. In the days that follow, life returns to its rhythm. The sea still calls, the fields still need tending, the goats still bleat at dawn. But within me, something has shifted. The hunger for glory has softened into something else. Understanding, perhaps, or peace. I spend more time with the young now, teaching them the ways of the blade, the shield, the oar. Not to make them killers, but to teach them discipline, the patience and respect that a true warrior carries. They laugh easily, full of fire and dreams, and I see in them the reflection of my own youth, when the world felt endless and I believed I could outrun death. The older I grow, the more I see that war is not the true test of strength. The true test is to live, to build, to forgive, to endure. One evening, I sit by the shore with my wife. The sky burns orange, fading slowly into violet. The waves lap softly at our feet. Her hair has streaks of silver now, her hands rough from years of work. But her eyes are the same as the night we met. We talk little. Words are no longer needed. The silence between us is full of love, of memory, of all the small days that built our life together. Behind us, children's laughter echoes. Our son teaches his boy to throw a spear. Our daughter weaves a basket with her mother's care. Life continues, quietly and stubbornly. At times, I visit the burial mound on the hill. It overlooks the fjord, the same path we once sailed upon. There lie the bones of kin, warriors, farmers, mothers, children. Each mound is marked with stones carved in runes, telling names, deeds, prayers. I sit there often, speaking softly to them, though I do not know if they hear. Perhaps they do. Perhaps memory is the truest kind of immortality. The seasons turn. Summer fades into autumn, and autumn into the long, slow sleep of winter. Snow falls again on the thatched roofs, softening every edge. The nights grow longer, but they are not lonely. The hall is warm, filled with laughter, firelight, and song. Sometimes, on nights when the mead runs low and the wind howls outside, someone will ask for a story, an old one, from the time when men fought with iron and the gods still walked among us. And I tell it, slowly, carefully, like feeding kindling to a new flame. I speak not of blood or conquest, but of life, of what it felt like to wait beside the sea, to smell smoke in the rafters, to hold a woman's hand after battle and feel the pulse of the same earth beneath you both. As I speak, the younger ones listen, their faces lit by fire, and I see in them the same quiet wonder that once filled me, long ago, when I first heard these tales as a child. It comforts me that the thread continues, unbroken, unwinding through generations, woven from the same longing that binds all who have ever lived, to be remembered, to belong, to matter. If you close your eyes now, you might almost hear it, the hum of voices through the centuries, the faint heartbeat of a people who lived as fiercely as they loved. Our gods may fade, our swords may rust, but the spirit endures, and in that enduring, there is peace. Winter has its own beauty here. It is a long, patient silence, the kind that teaches men to listen. The sea hardens at the edges, and the wind carries the clean scent of snow and pine. Smoke rises from every roof, slow and gray against the pale sky. For months, the sun barely lifts above the horizon. The days blend into twilight, the nights into endless hush. Yet even in that darkness, our world does not sleep. It glows. Inside the longhouse, life gathers close around the hearth. The flames reflect in every eye, painting faces gold and amber. The hall hums with warmth, with laughter, with the smell of roasted meat, with the quiet joy of survival. This is the time of Joel, the midwinter feast, when even the cold cannot steal our spirits. We eat, we sing, we drink in honor of the returning sun. The women prepare for days. Stews simmer in iron pots. Bread bakes slowly on flat stones. Honey is warmed and stirred into mead until it glows like molten amber. The air fills with rich smells, smoke, spice, and sweet fat dripping into the fire. When evening comes, torches are lit and hung along the beams. Shadows dance wildly across the carved walls, gods, beasts, man, all flickering together in that golden haze. The feast begins with silence. The chieftain raises a horn, its rim carved with runes of fortune, and calls upon the gods. The first sip is for Odin, to wisdom and courage. The second for Freya, to love and life. The third for the ancestors, whose bones lie under the frozen earth, listening. Only then do we drink. The first swallow burns, the second warms. The third feels like the world itself is breathing through you. Voices rise. Someone strikes a lyre, someone else beats a drum, and soon the hall comes alive with rhythm, not of war, but of joy. Men boast of hunts and voyages, their eyes bright with mead and memory. Women laugh and shake their heads, for they have heard these tales grow taller each winter. Children sneak bites from platters, grease on their fingers, joy in their faces. It is a beautiful chaos, raw, human alive. At times, the songs turn solemn. A man will stand and sing of his father, or a lost brother, or a friend who fell far from home. The hall grows still then, the firelight softening. Grief and warmth mingle, and no one looks away. We understand, for loss touches every life here. And then, just as the sadness settles, someone laughs. A toast is raised, the song turns, and the hall bursts again into noise and light. In this world, sorrow and joy are not opposites. They are kin. Each gives meaning to the other. Later in the night, when the mead runs deep and the snow outside glows blue beneath the moon, we turn to games, wrestling, riddles, tests of strength. The young men show their speed, the old their cunning. Laughter echoes like music. I sit near the fire, my hand around the drinking horn, and I watch them. These people I have lived among all my life. The flicker of light on their faces, the sweat on their brows, the smiles that break even through tears. It strikes me then, this is what we truly fight for. Not for silver or fame, but for this, the warmth of belonging, the brief, shining moments when the cold cannot reach us. When the torches burn low and the songs grow softer, we lie down among firs and kin. Outside, the snow keeps falling. Inside, the fire whispers. If you close your eyes now, you can almost feel that warmth. The heat of bodies near, the hum of voices fading, the meat still sweet on your tongue. The gods, I think, must smile on such nights. For here, in the darkest season, men remember what it means to be alive. In these lands, death is never a stranger. He moves softly among us, in the whisper of snow, in the sigh of the sea, in the way the wind brushes the fields. We do not flee from him. We live beside him, as one might live beside a river, knowing one day it will take us too. When someone dies, the village grows still. There are no cries, no chaos, only quiet, and a kind of sacred rhythm that follows. The women wash the body first. Warm water, linen cloths, gentle hands. The dead are not cold to us. They are beloved. Each movement is slow, respectful, the last kindness we can offer. The skin is rubbed with herbs, juniper, thyme, and sage, to keep away decay and to send the scent of life along with the soul. The body is dressed in its finest, tunic, cloak, sometimes armor, sometimes jewelry. If the man was a warrior, his sword is laid by his side, his hand resting on the hilt. For women, beads and brooches gleam like starlight against the folds of wool. When all is ready, the people gather. Torches flicker, smoke drifts toward the sky. A priestess or wise man speaks words that feel older than memory. They do not promise heaven or paradise. They speak of journeys, the soul crossing to the realm beyond, where kin and gods wait by a great fire. We believe the spirit lingers for a time, watching, listening. So we speak to it, softly, honestly, telling the dead what they meant to us, asking for their protection. promising remembrance. If you close your eyes, you might feel it, that stillness, that trembling air heavy with both sorrow and love. Sometimes the dead are buried in mounds on the hills, wrapped in cloth and earth, facing the rising sun. Stones are placed around the grave, carved with runes that tell of who they were, their name, their deeds, their lineage. Other times, especially for warriors or chieftains, a ship is prepared. It rests on the land, filled with the dead man's belongings, his weapons, his tools, even his dog or horse, believed to guide him across the unseen waters. Torches are raised, words are spoken, and then the ship is set alight. The flames rise high, painting the night in gold and red. Sparks drift upward like souls. The wood cracks, the fire roars, the people stand in silence. No fear, only reverence. The fire burns for hours, until nothing remains but glowing embers and ash scattered by the wind. When it is done, there is peace. The smoke has carried the spirit home. Afterward, life resumes. Slowly, carefully, the women return to weaving, the men to the sea or the forge, the children to laughter. For grief here is not a chain. It is a river meant to flow. We do not hide from memory, we carry it. A man's name is spoken at the feast, in stories, in toasts. A woman's song is hummed when bread is baked or when the wind moves through the grass. In this way, none truly vanish. When I was young, I feared death. I thought it was an ending. But now, with the weight of years upon me, I see it differently. It is not a wall, but a doorway. The living walk beside it every day, not knowing when they'll pass through. And when they do, the world continues. The same sea, the same stars, the same laughter by the fire. It comforts me to think that long after I am gone, someone will sit where I once sat, hold the same kind of horn, tell the same kind of story, and feel the same quiet wonder beneath the same sky. The old ways have always known this, that death and life are one long breath, drawn and released again and again. So we honor both, the living and the dead, in equal measure. And as the snow falls softly on the burial mound and the last ember fades, we whisper a single truth that every heart understands, even without words. Nothing truly ends, only changes. There are mornings when the air feels alive. You wake, and before your eyes even open, you sense it. The quiet hum beneath the world, the slow heartbeat of the earth itself. We have no need for temples here. Our gods live in the wind that bends the trees, in the mist that clings to the fjord, in the fire that refuses to die even when the wood grows damp. Every hill, every river, every grove has its own spirit. Some are kind, some fickle, all deserving of respect. I walk alone through the forest beyond the village. The snow has begun to melt, and the scent of wet earth rises with each step. The pines whisper softly above, and somewhere far off, a woodpecker drums a rhythm against the hollow trunk of a birch. The forest is old, older than our names, older than memory. You can feel it in your bones. The trunks stand like pillars of a vast, unseen hall, their bark rough beneath the palm, cool with shadow. Moss clings to everything, thick and soft, like the breath of time itself. Every hunter knows this silence. Every child grows up feeling its gaze. The forest does not belong to us, we belong to it. Sometimes I stop by the river. Its surface glimmers darkly, curling between stones smoothed by centuries. I kneel, cup my hands, and drink. The water tastes of metal and snow, sharp, clean, alive. You might think it strange to find such peace alone, but in solitude, the world begins to speak again. The creak of ice, the whisper of wind through reeds, the cry of a distant gull. Each sound is a language, if you learn to listen. We were taught from childhood to honor what feeds us. When we take the life of an animal, we speak to it first. A few words of thanks, touched to the fur, a promise that nothing will be wasted. The meat, the hide, the bones, all have purpose. To take without gratitude is to invite misfortune. I have known men who forgot this, and none of them ended well. To us, every creature is kin. The bear fierce and wise, the wolf cunning and loyal to its pack, the raven the messenger, the horse sacred to the sun. Even the smallest creatures, the hare, the sparrow, the bee, each plays its part in the weave of life. In spring, when the herds return to pasture, we leave offerings, bread, milk, or honey placed on a flat stone or poured into the soil, not out of fear, but respect. The earth feeds us, after all, and gratitude is the oldest prayer. Sometimes, at dusk, when the sky turns pale gold and the air smells of pine and smoke, I see figures moving in the mist, shapes between trees, too fluid to be human. Spirits, perhaps, or memories of them. I do not question it. The boundary between worlds has always been thin here. We believe that when a man dies, part of his spirit returns to the earth, into the water, the trees, the stones. Perhaps that is why the forest feels familiar, even when no path is known. You are never truly alone here. You walk among the old ones. If you close your eyes now, you might feel it too. The cool air against your face, the roughness of bark beneath your palm, the smell of pine sap and thawing soil. In the heart of nature, all things breathe together. Man, beast, God, and ghost, one vast, endless rhythm. It humbles you. It quiets the noise of the mind, softens the weight of living. The forest teaches patience, the sea teaches courage, the wind teaches surrender. And as I return to the village, following the sound of the waves, I feel lighter, not because the god spoke, but because the silence did. For in that silence, there is peace, and in that peace, there is everything. Night comes gently, as it always does here. The wind calms, the hearth sighs, and the air grows thick with the scent of smoke and wool. The people lie close, wrapped in furs. Children breathe softly beside their mothers. The dogs twitch in their sleep. Outside, the snow glows faintly in the moonlight, every flake a small mirror of the stars. Sleep in these lands is never only rest. It is a doorway. When the body quiets, the soul wanders. Some say it travels to the land of the dead, others that it walks the hidden paths between the roots of the world tree. I have learned not to question which is true, only to listen to what dreams choose to show. In dreams, the world feels sharper, closer. I have stood again upon the sea, waves black and gleaming under a sky torn with lightning. I have heard the voices of the lost, my father, my brothers, calling across the water, not in words, but in knowing. Sometimes they smile, sometimes they turn away. When I wake, the memory fades like mist, but the feeling remains, a weight in the chest, a calm or a warning. We trust these things. To a pagan heart, dreams are messages. Not all are clear, but all are real. The gods speak in riddles, not sentences. They show through signs. A raven landing where no bird should, a storm that comes too soon, a fire that will not catch. I remember once, when I was young, the seeress told me I would see death in water. I thought she meant drowning. Years later, during a raid, I saw my friend fall into the sea. Not by my hand, not by the enemies. A simple slip on wet wood. It was then I understood. The words of the wise are never false, only misunderstood. We live surrounded by such signs. A man wakes from a dream of wolves, he sharpens his blade, and 2 days later a bear attacks his flock. A woman dreams of a flame that does not burn. Her child is born the next day, strong and bright-eyed. There is no fear in this, only acceptance. The world is alive. It speaks. Our task is to listen. The wise among us, the vulva, the dream seer, know how to listen best. Their huts stand apart from the village, near the forest's edge, where silence runs deep. They keep bones and herbs, carved staffs and charms of amber. When we seek their counsel, we bring gifts, a loaf of bread, a cup of mead, a lock of hair. They listen, eyes half closed, as if hearing something just beyond the air. Then they speak softly, not of what will be, but of what might. For fate, even in the old world, is not a chain. It is a river. It bends, it branches. It carries us where we are meant to go. Sometimes I wonder whether the gods themselves dream, if they see us as we see them, flickering, fragile, filled with questions. Perhaps we are their visions, just as they are ours. When the wind rises at night and the rafters creak, some say it is the spirits passing. Others say it is simply the wood shifting in the cold. I believe it is both, the living and the dead sharing the same breath. If you close your eyes now, you can almost feel it, that light tremor in the air, that faint hum that lies just beneath silence. The world breathing, the unseen waiting. It is not eerie, not frightening. It is tender, a reminder that we are never truly alone. And when morning comes and the light returns, the dreams dissolve into the warmth of waking. The fire cracks, the dogs stir, and life continues, steady and unchanged. But the wise keep a fragment of the dream with them, color, a sound, a name whispered by no one. For even when forgotten, dreams remain. They are seeds, and one day they bloom again in memory and song, in the quiet knowing that what we call reality is only one small room in a much larger house. So we live gently, speak softly, and listen often, because in every gust of wind, every flicker of flame, every breath between waking and sleep, the world speaks. And if you listen closely, it whispers of forever. The dark months never vanish all at once. They fade slowly, like a candle that burns itself into the dawn. First comes the sound, a drip, a soft rush, the quiet cracking of ice in the river. Then comes the smell, damp earth, pine needles, something green stirring beneath the thaw. We know then that winter's hold has begun to loosen. The snow still lies heavy in the shadows, but sunlight lingers longer each day. The cattle low in their stalls, restless, sensing what we all feel, the pulse of life returning. One morning I wake to birdsong, thin and tentative at first, but unmistakable. A thrush, then a wren, then many. The sound fills the air like water fills a well. The village stirs. Doors open. People step outside. Faces turn to the weak sun. Eyes half closed. The cold still bites, but no one minds. This is how joy begins here. Not in grand moments, but in the smallest signs. The women begin their work in the fields, breaking the soil with wooden hoes, their laughter carrying on the wind. Men mend fences, sharpen tools, repair nets for fishing. Children chase one another through puddles, their boots splashing, their shouts echoing against the hills. It is as if the whole world is waking. Each spring we hold a feast to honor the earth's rebirth. Offerings of milk and bread are placed on stones and buried at the edge of the fields. The people gather, dressed in fresh-washed tunics, flowers woven into their hair. We drink, but not heavily. This is a gentler celebration. The meat is light, the songs are slower. The lyres sound soft beneath the open sky. When the sun sets, the fires are lit, smaller than the winter ones, glowing like hearts scattered through the grass. Couples dance. Children leap over the flames for luck, their laughter blending with the crackle of wood. If you close your eyes, you might smell it. The smoke sweetened with sap, the cool air tinged with new grass, the faint salt of the sea beyond the fields. This is a holy time, though we do not call it that. The gods walk unseen among us, smiling through the faces of those we love. Spring changes everything. Hunger eases, hearts soften, the fields promise plenty, and for a while the world feels kind. Love, too, blooms easily now. You see it in glances, in quiet touches by the fire, in the way young men carve small gifts of wood and women braid their hair with ribbons of color. A new marriage will be announced soon. I can see it in the way two pairs of eyes find each other and cannot look away. Life circles back upon itself, birth after death, green after white, laughter after silence. The same cycle that has turned since before men had words for it. I walked to the river one evening, its banks soft again with thawing soil. The water runs quick and bright, carrying bits of ice like fragments of old dreams. I kneel, touch the surface, and feel its cold, sure flow against my hand. In its movement, I hear the echo of everything. The raids of my youth, the feasts of my middle years, the quiet days yet to come. The river does not stop. It remembers, and it carries on. So do we. The sun sinks lower, turning the water to gold. The air hums with insects again, with life. Behind me, the sounds of the village drift through the dusk, laughter, a baby's cry, a door closing. All ordinary things, all sacred. Spring has returned, as it always does. And with it, a gentle reminder. that the earth forgives, renews, and never truly dies. The gods need no temples, no offerings. They need only this, our living, our breathing, our being part of the world they made. The fire within us is the same fire that wakes the soil. And for tonight, that is enough. The years pass quietly now. They no longer arrive like storms, but like slow-moving clouds across a calm sky. Each one leaves its trace, a line upon the face, a silver thread through the hair, a deeper stillness in the heart. The village has changed, though the sea sounds the same. Children I once saw born now have children of their own. The young men train where I once stood. Their shouts echo against the cliffs. The old songs are still sung, though the voices are new. I no longer sail, no longer lift a sword. My hands tremble too much for that, and my knees ache when the cold sets in. But I still walk to the shore each morning, leaning on my staff, and I still feel the same wind, sharp and clean, tasting of salt and pine. The sea has not forgotten me, nor I it. We know each other too well. I often sit by the water and think of the lives that passed through mine, the brothers I fought beside, the friends I buried, the children I held. Some memories shine like the morning sun. Others are blurred by time, like old runes worn smooth by rain. Yet even the sorrow feels gentle now. It has lost its teeth. The gods, too, seem quieter. When I was young, I heard them in thunder and storm. Now they speak in smaller ways, in the cry of a gull, in the warmth of the fire, in the steady rhythm of my heartbeat. Perhaps they have not grown quieter. Perhaps I have simply learned to listen. Each spring, the young ones invite me to tell stories. They sit by the hearth as I once did, eyes bright, breath held. I tell them what it felt like to ride the waves beneath a sky of iron, to hear the clash of steel, to see the world so wide and wild it made your heart tremble. But I tell them too of the quieter things, the sound of the forge at dawn, the laughter at feasts, the warmth of another hand in yours, because in the end, those are the things that remain. One evening, as twilight fades, I return from the shore and find the fire already lit. My wife sits nearby, her hands folded, her face calm. The years have been kind to her in their own way. The lines on her face are not marks of age, but of living, of laughter, of worry, of love. We eat in silence, as we often do. Outside, the night is soft, the air heavy with the scent of spring rain. Later, I lie down by the fire. My body feels heavy, but not with pain, only with peace. The world moves slowly around me. The creak of the rafters, the murmur of wind through the smoke hole, the soft breath of my wife beside me. I close my eyes, and in that quiet, the old sounds return. The crash of waves, the hiss of oars, the low hum of men singing in the dark. I see again the faces of those long gone, waiting on a distant shore. They do not speak. They simply smile. A raven circles above, black against the pale sky. It cries once, sharp and clear. Then the sound fades, and the air grows still. I am not afraid. Death is not an ending here, only another voyage. The ship is waiting, its hull strong and familiar. I feel the oar in my hand again, the salt on my lips, the wind rising. The sea opens wide before me, shining with light that is not of this world. I push away from the shore. Behind me, the fire still burns. I hear laughter, faint, distant, and the voice of a child calling to someone unseen. The village lives on. The world continues, as it always has. And as I drift farther, the waves whisper against the wood, steady and kind. If you close your eyes now, you might hear it too. That slow rhythm, like a heartbeat beneath the water, carrying me home. The sky above grows bright, and in that light I see them, my brothers, my kin, all those who went before. Their faces are young again, their eyes clear. A long table stands by the shore, and the scent of meat drifts through the air. A great fire burns there too, its flame never fading. I step ashore. The ground is soft beneath my feet, the air warm. I turn once to look back, and though the world I left grows dim, I smile. The circle is complete, the story told. The night grows quiet, the fire soft, and what remains are the gentle echoes through time. Morning comes with the quiet breath of embers. In the half-light, the longhouse smells of ash and wool, warm hides and damp timber. A prong stirs the coals. Smoke threads upward, sweet with birch. If you close your eyes, you can feel the gentle heat on your cheeks, the soft prickle of rushes underfoot. Work begins before the sun is sure of itself. The hearth is the first workshop. An iron pot nudged near the glow. Flatbread on a hot stone. Porridge ladled slow so it will not scorch. Linen rustles, a child yawns. A dog pads to the warmest spot. A woman knocks a loaf to hear its hollow ring. A man trims a splinter from spoon he carved last night. Life is made here, not only lived. Down by the shed, the smith wakes his fire. He feeds it charcoal till it breathes, then works the bellows, leather lungs rising and falling. Hammer strikes begin, steady, unhurried, a heartbeat cast in metal. Scale flakes glitter. The bar blooms orange, then returns to dusk as he tempers it in water that hisses like a whispering snake. A good blade is not rushed. He listens, feels where it wants to bend, where it asks to rest. Some days he forges bands into patterns like braided rivers. Other days he makes the small things that hold the world together nails, a buckled tongue, a door hinge that will swing for years without complaint. At the village edge, an upright loom stands with stones tugging the warp tight as harp strings. The weaver's hands move without hurry. The shuttle passes, threads beat, will size. She knows colors by season. Woad's cool blue, Matter's warm red, Weld's thin yellow. She braids tablet bands to bind a scabbard or leash a hound, and shapes cloth for sails, dense, oiled against the sea, because wind must be held as surely as water. In the dim months she stitches by firelight, her needle flickering like a small star. Leather hangs by the door, smelling of smoke and earth. Hides are scraped with bone and iron, then softened with oils until they fold like heavy cloth. Straps are cut true, holes punched even, edges burnished with tallow until they shine. Boots remember every step. A belt keeps a life's tools close. Nothing is wasted. Antler becomes comb and needle. Horn becomes cup. Sinew, quiet thread that holds. The shipwright's yard is a forest turned inside out. Lengths of oak lie propped and braced, their grain red like weather. He beds the keel, raises strakes and overlapping courses, each plank speaking to the next in a language of curves and patience. Iron rivets bite. Rows are peened flat until they grip like clenched teeth. Wool is teased into seams, caulked with hot pine tar that smells of honey and lightning. Ribs and thwarts, mast step and tiller, every part has a place. Run your palm along the hull and you feel it. Not a thing, but a creature meant for movement. Rope walk and byre, dairy and kiln. Each corner carries craft. Fibers twist from flax or bast. Strands laid and laid again until rope holds like family. In the dairy, milk thickens. Curds cut with a wooden harp. Whey saved for cooking. Butter rinsed cold and packed. Soapstone pots warm and cool without shattering. A quern turns grain with a sandy sigh that lives in every morning's bread. Ale wakes in its cask with a faint yeasty breath. Mead keeps last summer's flowers and returns them as winter warmth. The carver sits with antler and amber. His knife is small and sure. He frees beasts within the grain. A bear cocking its head. A serpent coiled in knots of wood. A horse mid-leap where a belt will clasp. He scores runes shallow and careful, so the message outlives the hand that wrote it. Children come to watch. He lets them trace the grooves. This, his smile says, is how a story stays. Work is not owned by one sex alone. Men weave when hands are needed. Women polish spearheads that will guard the herd. Elders teach anyone who will listen. Lines between tasks are drawn by need, redrawn by winter, and softened by love. Pride lives not in who did the work, but in how well it was done and how long it will serve. You might think all this is only labor, but here labor is prayer. A hinge that swings true honors the house. A cloak that keeps a child dry honors the gods of weather. A straight nail answers a vow you didn't know you'd made. To keep what you have. To care for it. To pass it on. At midday, hands rest. Bowls of broth pass. Steam carries onion and bone, juniper and salt. Bread breaks with a soft crackle. Someone tells a small joke. Someone hums a tune their mother sang. A dog noses the bench and earns a crust for patience. It is simple, yes, but simplicity fills hollow places ambition cannot reach. When storms hold men inside, the hearth becomes a school. A boy learns to splice. A girl sets a rivet. Palms are guided, not scolded. Mistakes are sanded away or melted and tried again. Feel it, an elder murmurs, placing a grandchild's hand on a plank. Let the wood tell you what it wants. The child nods, and somewhere a craft begins. As dusk comes early, the village smells of pine tar and lanolin, of smoke clinging to hair and laughter easing tired shoulders. Finished things line the walls, a spear shaft straight as a winter reed, a cloak pin catching lamplight, a net patched so cleverly the mend is stronger than the old cord. Trade humps quietly, a new hinge for fresh cheese. A skein of dyed thread for a day's help at the kiln. Silver is good, but trust is better. Debt is measured in memory, and the book that keeps it is the heart. Listen, truly listen, and you can hear the village breathing, bellows sighing, looms whispering, stones turning grain to flour, the low contented murmur of people whose hands can answer the day. The gods feel near when the work is good. In the moment a blade finally sets true, when a sail lifts and cloth goes from heavy to living, night settles. The fire glows from within like a seed. Tools are hung, edges oiled, fibers tucked from damp and mice. Someone thanks the day out loud. Someone else does it quietly, a palm pressed to the chest for one heartbeat longer than habit. The longhouse rests as a body rests, whole, made of many parts, each cared for by the others. If you close your eyes, you can smell the mingled perfume of a life well made. Pine tar and fresh bread, hot iron and cool wool, smoke that has known laughter. You might feel in your own fingers the gentle ache of honest work, and with it a steady pride, small, sure, warm as the hearth. This is how a people endure, not only by sword and sea, but by hinge and thread, rope and rivet, by the quiet, stubborn love of making things that last. Dawn drifts slowly across the fjord, pale and kind. The village wakes not to horns or orders, but to small voices, high, bright, unafraid. Children spill from doorways like birds from a nest, their laughter scattering the morning quiet. The frost still clings to the grass, but they do not care. Their breath hangs in the air like ghosts of joy. Childhood here is not sheltered, but it is full. The little ones learn early that the world is both gentle and hard, that the same sea which feeds can also take, that the same fire which warms can burn. But they are not afraid of these truths. They grow among them, the way pines grow from rock, rooted, resilient, reaching. A girl no older than 6 carries water from the well. The bucket is heavy, but her steps are steady. Her mother watches, saying nothing. She knows the lesson lies not in the task, but in the effort. Nearby, 2 boys chase each other through the frost, wooden swords clacking. They swing with wild grace, falling often, laughing more. The elder boy shouts, "I am Thor," and the younger replies, "Then I am the storm." They fall together into the snow, breathless and happy. The village lets its children roam. They wander between houses, into the fields, to the edge of the woods, where the trees begin their deep silence. The old dog follows them there, half guardian, half companion. Sometimes an elder joins them, telling stories of trolls who live under roots or of spirits who guard the streams. The children listen wide-eyed, certain every shadow holds a secret. At midday, they gather near the hearth. The air smells of bread and smoke. A grandmother mends a shirt, her fingers moving like birds. A small boy sits beside her, threading beads clumsily onto a string. "Each bead is a sun," she says softly. "When you wear it, you carry the summer with you." The boy nods solemnly. He believes her completely. Education here does not live in books or classrooms. It lives in watching, in listening, in doing. A child learns by the rhythm of work, by hearing the ring of the hammer, by feeling the tug of the net, by watching the hand that kneads dough until it no longer sticks. When a lesson is done well, no one applauds. They simply nod and smile, the truest praise of all. And they're games, always games. Stones tossed in a circle, riddles traded by the fire, races down the hill when snow turns soft. Some nights, when the aurora ripples across the sky, the children are told that it is the spirits of the dead, dancing. They wave to it, fearless, believing their ancestors can see them waving back. If you close your eyes now, you can almost hear it. The quick feet pattering on packed earth, the shout of triumph, the crash of wooden shields. The future, still light enough to laugh. In winter, they gather close to the hearth, their faces golden with firelight. The elders tell stories of gods, beasts, and heroes. The children lean forward, eyes wide. They do not yet question where myth ends and truth begins. To them, the gods are real because they live in the world around them, in the thunder that shakes the roof, in the flash of fish in the stream, in the calm silence of falling snow. When storms come and the wind howls against the walls, the little ones press close to their mothers. But even fear here has gentleness in it. They are told that Thor rides the sky, that his hammer keeps them safe. The thunder becomes comfort, and when a child is born, it is an event that touches everyone. The women gather first, washing, wrapping, singing. The men wait outside, carving a small charm or pacing in the snow. When the baby's first cry comes, it is as if the entire village exhales. The fire burns brighter. The world feels new again. A few days later, the child is shown to the sky and named, not after kings, but after kin. A father's father, a mother's sister, a warrior gone before. The name ties them to the living and the dead, weaving another thread into the fabric of memory. I often think the gods must love children most. They remind the world how to laugh, how to believe, how to look at the sea and see not danger, but endless adventure. As evening falls, the little ones return home, faces smudged with dirt, fingers sticky with berries, eyes heavy with sleep. They curl beside the fire, the day's noise fading into the soft hum of the hall. Outside, the stars blink awake. Inside, dreams begin, full of gods and giants, forests and thunder. If you listen carefully, you can hear their breathing, small, steady, fearless. Tomorrow they will rise and learn again. The future of the North sleeps soundly tonight. There are many kinds of love in a life, but none quite like the bond between men who have faced the wind and sea together. It is not loud nor easily spoken. It grows in silence, in shared danger and laughter, and the wordless trust that one will not falter when the other does. We call it Bernie, brotherhood. A man's worth here is not weighed by silver or by land, but by the steadiness of his companions. You learn quickly who will hold the line beside you when fear bites, who will carry your weight when the cold sets deep into bone. It begins early. Boys grow together, train together, bruise together. Wooden swords strike, wooden shields splinter, and between those blows, something unseen is forged. They learn the rhythm of each other's breath, the way a friend moves before he moves, the small signs that mean, trust me. By the time they are men, words are almost unnecessary. A glance, a nod, that is enough. When we travel the sea, that bond is our true armor. The longship demands it. Each oar must rise and fall in perfect time. Each man must sense the others through the rhythm of his pull. There's music in it, the low chant of effort, the splash of oars, the creak of wood, a harmony made of muscle and will. We joke, of course, always. Laughter is as vital as breath. It drives away fear, warms the heart when the sky is nothing but gray. There are songs that only we sing, crude, perhaps, but honest, full of life. And when the sea quiets, we share smaller stories. A woman's smile left behind, a child not yet met, a dream that feels like a warning. Around the fire, the words come easier. The heat loosens tongues. The mead softens the distance between souls. We speak of the dead then, not with sorrow, but respect. A brother gone to the hall of ancestors is still with us. His name is a charm, spoken to the wind before battle, whispered to the sea before sleep. Sometimes, during raids or journeys, we must leave one behind. The hardest act is to walk away. Yet even in that, love endures, for we know his story will be carried home, his deeds remembered by those who shared his path. That is immortality enough. If you close your eyes now, you might see them. Men sitting in the half-dark, faces lit by a single flame, their shadows large against the timbered walls. You can almost hear the low hum of their voices, the occasional laugh, the steady scrape of a whetstone across iron. There is calm there, a brotherhood made not of words, but of shared silence. These are not men hardened beyond feeling. They cry, though rarely where others see. They grieve for fallen friends and lost kin, for the child they will not meet, for the peace they will never fully know. But they also find joy in the smallest things, the warmth of a shared blanket, the taste of bread after hunger, the first gull calling over land after months at sea. Warriors are not carved from stone. They are made of the same flesh, the same fear, the same longing for home as any soul. What sets them apart is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be ruled by it. And when battle comes, it is this brotherhood that steadies the heart. You do not fight for gods or glory then, not truly. You fight for the man beside you, because he would do the same. After battle, when the field grows quiet and the smoke clears, the survivors sit together. No boasting, no shouting, just breath. The bond between them feels different then, heavier, quieter, sacred. They have seen one another stripped of everything but will. There is no pretense left, only truth. Years later, when grace settles in the beard and the sword grows heavy, that bond remains. When two old men meet again at a feast, they grasp arms, look into each other's faces, and see not wrinkles or time, but the memory of who they once were. No need for words. The eyes say everything. Brotherhood does not fade. It becomes part of the soul, a fire that never goes out, even when the body cools. If you listen now, perhaps you can hear it. The low laughter carried on the wind, the rhythm of oars in some far-off sea, the echo of voices that once promised to never let each other fall. They kept that promise, and because of it, the world still remembers them. The world of the North is often remembered for its warriors, but the quiet strength of women is what kept that world alive. They are the steady rhythm beneath the noise of storms, the keepers of hearth, of children, of stories, of gods. When dawn touches the longhouse, it is the women who move first. They stoke the embers, knead the bread, stir the pot that holds yesterday's broth. The air fills with the scent of barley, smoke, and tallow. They wake the children, braid their hair, mend the tears left by another day's work. Outside, their hands are everywhere. They milk the cows, shear the sheep, hang wool to dry in the wind. They shape the world not through orders or conquest, but through patience, the kind that builds life one motion at a time. A man may win fame with his sword, but it is his wife who keeps his name alive when he is gone. At the heart of every home is a woman's voice, soft, sure, often singing. It carries through the smoke and over the fields, as steady as the sea's own breath. Children grow on those songs. Men remember them long after the battles are forgotten. Each woman is a keeper of knowledge. They know the herbs that ease fever, the roots that still a cough, the timing of seasons, the weight of the moon on tide and body. A midwife may bring a child into the world and bury a man in the same day, her face unchanged, her hands gentle in both tasks. If you close your eyes now, you might hear the whisper of those hands, the rasp of cloth on the washboard, the sound of wool pulled through combs, the murmur of prayer spoken over cooling bread. Women of the North speak to gods in their own language. They do not kneel, they call. They pour milk on stones for Freya, braid flowers for the goddess Sif, and whisper thanks to the earth when harvest comes. Faith for them is not distant or formal. It lives in their breath, their work, their love. When men go to sea, the women keep watch from the hills. They stand wrapped in cloaks, eyes searching the horizon where water meets sky. Some will wait weeks, others months, and some will never see the sails return. But still they wait, not out of weakness, but out of hope, that most sacred kind of strength. In the evenings, The hall belongs to them as much as to the men. They sit close to the fire, their laughter bright and sure. They drink, tell stories, tease the warriors. And if someone boasts too loudly, it is often a woman who brings him back to earth with a single clever word. Respect runs both ways. A wise man listens when his wife speaks. It is said that even Odin learned wisdom from a woman, and those who have lived long enough know why that story endures. Not all women are bound to hearth and family. Some walk alone, healers, weavers, seeresses. They carry staffs carved with runes, their cloaks heavy with beads and charms. The people seek them when dreams turn dark or when a child is ill. Their eyes seem to see more than the rest of us. They are feared a little, loved deeply, and always respected. There is beauty here too, though it is not the polished kind of beauty sung in southern courts. It is the beauty of movement, of a back straightened after long work, of hands rough but sure, of hair lit by firelight and wind. A woman here is like the land she lives on, unyielding, alive, quietly eternal. At night, when the children sleep, wives and husbands lie side by side beneath wool and fur. The talk is soft, the touch familiar, the comfort real. Love here is not a performance. It is the slow, deep warmth that grows through years of shared storms and shared silences. If you listen, you might still hear them. The laughter of women rising above the crackle of fire. The lullabies that drift through smoke and snow. The unbroken thread that ties life together. Without their voices, the hall would be only timber and ash. With them it breathes, and through them the north endures. Strong, wise, and alive. The old gods do not leave quickly. They fade like embers, glowing faintly long after the fire seems gone. For many years, our land belonged to them alone. Every tree, every stone, every wave carried their voices. But slowly, from the south, new words began to travel with the merchants and the monks. At first, it was only whispers. A man returning from the Frankish coast spoke of a god who walked as a man, who healed the sick, who forgave. A foreign trader carried a small wooden cross around his neck and swore that his god loved even the poorest of souls. We listened politely, the way one listens to tales of far-off lands. Interesting, but distant. Yet words have wings. They travel in silence, through minds that do not know they are listening. Soon more strangers came, pale-robed men with kind eyes and no weapons. They built small wooden chapels near the harbors, sang songs softer than any we had heard. Their words were gentle, but they carried power. Some among us were drawn to them. They spoke of peace, of mercy, of one God instead of many. To tired men, weary of raids and hunger, it sounded like rest. To women who had buried too many children, it sounded like hope. The old priests, the seeresses, the keepers of runes, they watched in silence. Change, they knew, is a tide. You cannot fight it forever. You can only decide how you will meet it. Still, for most, the old gods remained. Odin for wisdom, Thor for protection, Freya for love and birth, and Jord for the sea. When storms broke, we still raised the hammer sign. When fields turned green, we still left offerings in the soil. But now, beside the idols, there stood a cross, carved from the same oak, blessed by a different prayer. For a time, both faiths lived together, not as enemies, but as uneasy neighbors. A man might wear Thor's hammer around his neck and keep a small cross in his pouch, calling to both when the waves grew high. Better, we said, to honor every god than risk offending one. You might think this strange, but faith here has always been practical. We have never worshipped from fear, but from need and gratitude. If a god brings warmth, we thank him. If he stays silent, we wait. The land teaches patience, and patience softens even the sharpest truth. Some feared that forgetting the old gods meant losing ourselves. That without them, we would forget who we were. The smell of tar on wood, the thrill of thunder, the wild joy of standing on a cliff with wind in our hair. But the truth is simpler. The gods live wherever we remember them, in story and craft, in the way we love the land that made us. When I first heard the Christian prayers, I did not understand them. But when they spoke of light and forgiveness, I thought of the sun after winter. When they spoke of bread and wine, I thought of our own feasts, of shared hunger and shared joy. Perhaps, I thought, the new God is not a stranger at all. Perhaps he is only another face of the same great mystery that has always watched over us. Now, some of our children wear the cross openly. They still honor their ancestors, still speak the old words when the storms roll in. They do not see conflict where we once feared it. They see continuity, the gods changing clothes, not disappearing. If you close your eyes now, you might picture it. A wooden church standing where once stood a grove, its roof steep, its door facing the sunrise. Inside, candles flicker where once burned a sacred fire. Outside, someone still whispers a pagan blessing before planting seeds. The songs have changed, yes, but the spirit that sings them, that longing for meaning, for peace, for connection, remains the same. The gods of the north are not gone. They have simply gone quiet, waiting patiently, like stones beneath the snow. And sometimes, on a stormy night, when lightning cracks across the fjord, we still lift our eyes and smile, because deep down, we know who rides the sky. There comes a time in every life when the walls of home grow small, when the heart begins to long for the far horizon, not out of restlessness, but from a quiet need to see what lies beyond the next ridge of the world. For me, that time came after many winters. My children were grown, my sword dulled from disuse, my name known enough to rest. And so, one spring morning, when the ice had finally broken from the fjord, I took a small pack, a walking staff, and set out along the trader's road that wound east. The land opened wide before me. Birch forests shimmered silver in the sun. Rivers glittered between dark stones, and everywhere the air smelled of thaw and earth. It felt as if the world itself was breathing again. Travel here is not hurried. The paths are narrow, the weather fickle, but the journey teaches patience, each step its own prayer. By day, I walked through meadows where cranes picked lazily at the mud. By night, I slept near streams. The sky stretched infinite above me. Sometimes I found company. A farmer driving his cattle to market, a monk with a satchel of warm books, a woman with her child bound against her back, her eyes fixed on some far village where kin awaited her. We shared food, fire, and silence in equal measure. You learn much by walking with strangers. Each carries a world of their own. The monk spoke softly of his god, and I told him of Odin and the ravens. Neither of us sought to convince the other. We simply traded stories, like gifts, and both left the fire richer than we had found it. The road led through valleys where streams hummed beneath the snow melt, past farms small as memories, and through forests that felt untouched since the dawn of time. There, the moss grew thick as fur, and the only sounds were the slow drip of water and the far cry of birds. Once, I reached a settlement I had never seen before. The people were kind, their faces weathered by wind and salt. They welcomed me with bread and beer, and that night, we feasted in a hall smaller than my own, but full of the same laughter. The faces were different, yet the warmth was the same, as if every hearth in the north shared one flame. If you close your eyes now, you might hear what I heard that night. The ring of cups, the hum of low voices, the sound of the sea breathing just beyond the door. In my wanderings, I learned that the world is not made of borders, but of echoes. A song sung in one village finds its answer in another, though the words may change. A carving on a doorpost in the east mirrors one far to the west. Everywhere, men and women tell the same truths. That love matters, that death comes, that the seasons turn. In one coastal town, I met a blacksmith who forged crosses and hammers in the same fire. He said it made no difference. Iron is iron, and faith, like metal, takes the shape of the hands that hold it. I thought that a wise thing to say. Further north, I stayed with fishermen who slept little and prayed often. They gave me dried cod and stories. One night, as the aurora danced across the sky, their youngest son asked if the lights were the souls of the dead. His father smiled and said, "Yes, but not just the dead. All who ever laughed under this sky." And I believed him. There is something about travel that makes the world both larger and smaller at once. Larger, because you see how vast it truly is. Smaller, because you begin to recognize yourself in every stranger. When I finally turned homeward, summer was in full bloom. The valleys shimmered green, the rivers warm enough to wade. My beard had grown long, my steps slower, but my heart was light. I carried no silver, no spoils, only stories. And stories, I have learned, weigh nothing, yet fill the world. As I neared the fjord again, I saw smoke rising, thin, gray, peaceful, and heard the faint echo of laughter from my own hall. I smiled. The wanderer's path always leads back to where it began, because to travel far is not to escape life, but to return to it with eyes open and heart quiet. If you listen closely, you can still hear the road, the crunch of boots on gravel, the murmur of wind in birch leaves, and the soft, eternal rhythm of a man walking home through time. They're the rhythm to all things. The sea rises and falls. The earth freezes and thaws. A man is born, grows strong, and softens again. It is not sadness, only the quiet truth that everything lives by the same law. When I was young, I feared the end of things. Now I see endings for what they are. Not loss, but change. The tree does not mourn when its leaves fall. It knows they will feed the roots. I spend more days now watching than doing. The forge hums without me. My sons work the oars. The young men train where we once did. Their laughter bright, their strength effortless. I stand at the edge of the field and feel pride instead of envy. It is a fine thing to see the world carried forward by other hands. Sometimes I walk to the river where I once hunted and rest beneath the same birch. The bark still peels in pale curls. The roots still drink from the cold stream. I can almost see my younger self there, bare-armed, wild, laughing, the future blazing in his eyes. I do not pity him for his hunger, and I do not wish to be him again. He belongs to the world of becoming. I belong to the world of being. The seasons teach gently. In spring we hurry, planting, mending, eager for what's next. Summer gives us plenty and pride. Autumn humbles us, teaching gratitude. And winter brings silence, where we learn to listen. That is the way of life too. Each season within a man must be lived fully. If he clings too long to one, he withers. If he embraces them all, he ripens. My wife laughs when I speak like this. She says I've grown too poetic with age. Perhaps she is right, but time softens the tongue, the way water smooths stone. It teaches you to say only what matters. We have seen enough winters together to speak mostly in glances. The warmth of her hand beside mine, the quiet joy of shared memory. These are worth more than all the silver in the world. Our grandchildren run through the hall now, their small feet pattering over the same floorboards we once built. Their laughter fills the air like birds returning in spring. I see myself in their eyes, but I see something more. A world that will go on without me. Stronger for having been loved. If you close your eyes now, you might feel it too. That strange calm that comes when you finally stop reaching for more. When you realize that what you already hold is enough. The warmth of a fire, the sound of a familiar voice, the slow rhythm of your own breath. I have kept many things. A knife, a comb, a carved piece of amber, once given by a friend long gone. But the things that matter most cannot be kept. The smell of rain on pine, the glow of morning on the fjord, the weight of a child sleeping against your chest. I have learned to let them pass through me, like the wind through the grass. Not to hold, but to feel. When I think of my life, I see it not as a line, but as a circle. The boy becomes the man becomes the elder returns to the earth, and from that earth another child rises. The gods knew this long before we did. It comforts me, because it means nothing truly leaves us. Not the voices, not the laughter, not even the pain. Everything folds back into the great weave, to be lived again in some other time, by some other heart. And so I wake each morning with gratitude, for the breath still in my chest, for the faces that greet me, for the sun that continues to rise whether or not I ask it to. The seasons turn, and I turn with them, not resisting, not regretting, just moving quietly through the long, beautiful rhythm of being alive. If you listen closely, You can hear that rhythm even now, in the fire, in the wind, in your own heartbeat. That is the sound of life. That is the song of the North. The days grow shorter again. The light lingers low on the hills, soft and golden, as if the sun itself has learned tenderness. The air tastes of smoke and ripe apples. The geese fly south in a long, murmuring line. I feel the turning of the world deep in my bones. I am not ill, not broken, only slowing. The world moves around me faster than it once did. My sons take to the sea, without asking my counsel now. And when I lift the hammer in the forge, my arms tire before the metal glows. It is not sadness that fills me. It is gratitude, for I have done what I came to do. In the evenings, I sit near the door and watch the firelight play on the rafters. The longhouse feels both eternal and fragile, built from trees that once whispered in the forest, now whispering still in flame and shadow. Every crack in the wood carries a memory. I have lived long enough to hear them all. Sometimes, when the wind shifts, I catch the faintest echo of the sea. It comes from far beyond the fjord. That deep, endless breathing of water against stone. I know that sound better than my own heartbeat. It has followed me all my life, and I know it will call me one last time. At night, dreams visit more often. They are not the wild dreams of youth, full of blood and thunder, but soft ones of faces long gone, of fields I have not walked in many years. I see my mother's hands kneading dough, my brothers laughing by the fire, the light in my wife's eyes the first night I saw her. Each dream feels less like memory and more like invitation. The wise say that when death nears, the veil between worlds thins, and perhaps they are right, for sometimes, when I wake, I feel as if I am already halfway across that unseen bridge. There's no fear in me. I have seen too much of the world to mistake death for cruelty. It is not the enemy of life. It is its companion, walking beside us from the first breath to the last. One evening, as the first snow begins to fall, I feel the weight of sleep heavier than before. My wife sits beside me, her hand in mine. We speak little. Words are not needed. The fire hums softly. The shadows move slow and kind. Outside, the flakes drift down, each one a small, cold miracle. The world smells of pine and smoke and the sweetness of ending. I close my eyes, and the sounds come. The waves, the gulls, the laughter of my brothers. I feel the roll of a ship beneath me, the wind tugging at my hair, the oar's smooth handle in my palm. I am young again, strong, sure, full of that clean hunger for the horizon. Ahead, a light glows on the water, not blinding, but warm. Voices rise from beyond it, calling softly. They are not strange. They are familiar, each one a thread of my own story, woven into the great tapestry that waits for us all. I push the boat from the shore. The water parts easily, and the stars above look close enough to touch. The air smells of salt and home. If you close your eyes now, you can almost feel it. The gentle rock of the ship, the cool wind brushing your face, the sense of release, like exhaling after a lifetime of holding your breath. The journey is not far. It never was. And when the light meets me, I do not bow, I do not weep. I simply smile, because I understand now what all the old songs meant, that nothing is ever lost. It only changes form, like flame becoming smoke, like river meeting sea. The hall ahead is vast and quiet, its doors open wide. I step inside. The air is full of laughter and the smell of mead. Every face I have ever loved turns toward me. The gods stand among them, their eyes bright with welcome. And as I take my seat by the fire, the long noise of life fades into peace. The sea outside hums softly. The stars burn steady. The world goes on. And I am home. When words fade, music remembers. In these northern lands, song is older than writing, older than walls or kingdoms. It was the first way we spoke to the gods, through rhythm, through breath, through heartbeat. The people of my youth knew that a song could hold a life. It could carry memory across oceans, turn grief into warmth, and give courage to those too tired to speak. We sang when the boats launched. We sang when we buried the dead. We sang when the sun returned after months of darkness. If you close your eyes now, You might hear it, the low hum of men rowing in time, their voices blending with the hiss of waves against the hull. Each stroke a beat, each breath a note. No instrument was needed, the sea itself kept rhythm. Inside the longhouse, the songs changed shape. Some were soft, lullabies sung over sleeping children, melodies that moved slow as smoke, tales of love and longing that could melt even the hardest heart. Others were fierce and bright, battle songs, work songs, feasting songs, the kind that shook the rafters and made the dogs bark in excitement. The skalds, our poets, carried the greatest burden. Their tongues were our libraries. They remembered names, battles, deeds. They kept the threads of who we were. Each verse was a knot tied to the next, a pattern that reached backward and forward through time. To forget a name was to let a soul vanish. To sing it was to keep it alive. A good skald was more than a performer. He was a bridge. His voice joined the living and the dead, the earth and the sky. When he spoke of heroes, the hall would fall silent, and for a moment the listeners could feel the presence of the old ones, hovering in the smoke, nodding to hear their stories told again. Women sang too, songs of birth, of weaving, of waiting. Their melodies were quieter, but no less powerful. They turned work into prayer, their voices rising and falling like the sea's own breath. A cradle song could calm not only a child, but the storm outside. Sometimes, when snow fell thick and the doors were barred, someone would bring out a drum. Its skin was stretched tight over a wooden ring, painted with symbols of sun and serpent. The beat began slowly, 1, 2, 3, until the hall itself seemed to breathe with it. The old songs would rise then, the ones that belonged to no single tongue, the ones that remembered before memory. Those were the songs of the land, wordless, endless, echoing through fjord and forest long after the fire had burned to ash. Music was our way of binding the world together. A melody could travel farther than a ship. It could cross mountains, outlast kings. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can hear the old ones humming beneath the wind, the tune changing, but the heart of it the same. When my own voice began to crack with age, I taught my children the songs I knew. They laughed at first. The long sagas seemed heavy, the old refrain slow. But I told them, a song is not for now. It is for when silence comes. And they understood. In the end, music is how the North remembers. It carries our grief, our joy, our faith, our stories. It teaches us that even the coldest world can sing. So if you listen, truly listen, you might still hear it tonight. A hum beneath the snow, a faint echo between the stars, a song older than speech, still carrying us home. The old people used to say that every place has a soul, that the land listens, even when it does not speak. To live here is to know that truth in your bones. The mountains breathe, the rivers dream, the wind remembers. When I was a boy, I believed the forest could see, and perhaps it can. The deeper you walk among the pines, the quieter your thoughts become, until the world narrows to breath and heartbeat, and you sense something vast and gentle watching from the shadows. We call them Landvetter, the spirits of the land. They are not gods, nor ghosts. They are the pulse beneath the earth, the memory that binds the living to the soil. Every valley, every stone, every stream has its own. We do not worship them, we respect them. When we clear new ground, we leave an offering, a loaf of bread, a splash of ale, a handful of oats scattered to the wind. Before we build, we whisper permission. And when a tree must be cut, the first axe blow is made gently, the wood touched with the hand and thanked aloud. For to take from the land without asking is to invite silence. And silence here can be cruel. I remember once, after a storm, a fisherman cut down a birch that had stood for generations. He said he needed wood for a mast, and took it without a word. That spring, no fish came to his nets. The others told him to make amends. He went to the stump, poured milk upon it, and spoke softly into the bark as if to an old friend. The next day, the fish returned. Coincidence, perhaps, but no one doubted the lesson. Children grow up knowing the small rules. Never spit into the fire. It offends the hearth spirit. Never throw stones into a still pond. You might wake what sleeps beneath. Always greet the dawn with a nod, and never mock the animals, for they see what we do not. If you close your eyes now, you might feel it, that faint hum beneath the ground, the quiet weight of unseen eyes watching kindly. It is not fear but belonging. There are places we do not enter lightly, the groves where the grass grows thick and untouched, the mounds that rise from the moor like sleeping beasts. There, the air feels different. Heavy, sweet, full of whispers. We leave offerings on such spots. A coin, a flower, a simple word of thanks. When someone falls ill, we sometimes ask the spirits for help. A bowl of water is left outside overnight. If it freezes clean, the spirits approve. If leaves or dust mark its surface, the healer knows the cure will take longer. The seeresses know their ways best. They walk between worlds, their staffs carved with spirals and serpents, their cloaks heavy with charms that click softly when they move. They speak to the spirits as one might to family, not begging, not commanding, but conversing, listening, remembering. Once, I followed an old woman into the woods to gather herbs. At every plant she stopped, she spoke a few words, thanking it, explaining why she took it, promising to use it well. I asked her why she bothered. She smiled and said, "So that the next plant will grow." I think I understood her then. The spirits do not ask for grand temples. They ask for respect, for the quiet awareness that we are guests here, brief visitors in a world much older than our names. Even now, when I walk the fields at dusk, I feel them in the rustle of grass, in the flicker of light between trees, in the strange calm that falls just before rain, and when thunder rolls across the sky. I whisper a greeting to Thor, but I also nod to the mountains themselves, for they have been here longer than any god. If you listen closely tonight, you might hear it too. A sigh through the reeds, a flicker in the flame, a hush that feels like acknowledgement. The spirits of the land are still here. They always have been. They will be, long after we are gone. Winter returns like an old friend. Slowly, then all at once, the sea stiffens at its edges, the fields fall silent, and the world folds itself into stillness. The first snow always feels like a blessing. It covers everything, roof, path, stone, in a clean white hush, as if the land itself is catching its breath. The hearth becomes the heart of all things. Its glow draws us together. Its smoke curls upward like prayer. Life slows to a whisper. There is no field to plow, no net to cast. We mend, we carve, we wait. Outside, the sky hangs low, its weight pressing gently against the thatch. In the evenings, the hall fills with warmth and voices. Children chase shadows across the walls. The old ones tell stories so often retold, that the pauses between words are as familiar as the words themselves. We do not mind the darkness. It holds us close, reminds us we belong to one another. If you close your eyes, you might hear it now. The soft creak of wood in the cold, the hiss of a log giving into flame, the slow breathing of people drowsy with peace. The long nights bring out memory. We speak of those who are gone, not as ghosts, but as companions at the table. Their names are spoken like blessings, their deeds retold, so they never fade. The children listen wide-eyed, learning not from books, but from the rhythm of story, the cadence of belonging. Sometimes a singer takes up a lyre, the strings hum low, and the hall falls silent. The song may last an hour, a tale of gods, or lovers, or the sea itself. And when it ends, no one claps. We simply sit, feeling the air still trembling with what was said. There are games too, riddles that twist the mind, bones tossed in circles, small competitions that end in laughter. The women weave by lamplight, the men carve spoons and handles, and between all the work and play there is a sense of waiting, as though the whole world were asleep, dreaming of spring. Outside, the snow glows blue under the moon. The dogs curl near the door, their fur steams in the cold. Now and then, a fox's cry cuts the air. Sharp, brief, almost human. We listen, then return to our quiet tasks. The sound of the world beyond the fire is never frightening. It is simply part of the great stillness. Winter teaches us gentleness, to move slower, to take joy in smaller things. A cup of warm milk, the soft creak of wool on skin, the crackle of fat on the hearth. It teaches patience, and in patience, peace. The days shrink until we measure time not by light, but by the turning of the firewood pile. Each log burned is a step closer to the sun's return. Each spark is a promise that life endures. When Yule comes, the whole hall comes alive. We burn the largest log, one thick with sap that hisses as it catches. We feast for as long as the food allows, sing until voices fade, and thank the gods for another turning of the year. In that joy there is something ancient, the wild gratitude of people who have survived the dark once more. After the songs fade, and the embers glow low, I step outside. The air bites, but the sky is alive. The stars shimmer like frost, and sometimes the aurora sweeps across the night, ribbons of green and silver dancing in silence. It feels like the breath of the gods themselves. I stand there for a long time, feeling the cold creep through my boots, and I think of every winter I have ever known, each one different, each one the same. They mark the years like runes on a staff, and through them all, one truth remains. We survive together, by fire, by story, by love. The long winter nights are not empty. They are full of warmth, of memory, of life waiting quietly to begin again. There comes a time when the noise of the world fades, and what once felt urgent begins to soften. The sea no longer calls for conquest. The sword no longer sings. What remains is quieter, but deeper, a slow rhythm, like breath shared between body and earth. In my youth, I sought greatness. I wanted songs to bear my name, for men to speak of my deeds after I was gone. But the older I grew, the more I understood that glory is only an echo, loud for a moment, then gone on the wind. Kindness, though kindness stays, it roots itself in others, unseen but alive. Now I find wisdom, not in the words of priests or kings, but in the small things, in the way snow melts on a thatched roof, in the sound of wool brushing against skin, in the way a child stares at a fire, seeing whole worlds we have forgotten how to see. If you close your eyes, you might feel it too. That calm, steady hum beneath everything. It is what the monks call the voice of God, and what the old ones called the breath of the gods. Different names, same truth. It is what reminds us that we are a part of something vast, something that asks nothing more of us than to notice it. The young come to me sometimes. They ask how to live well, how to be brave, how to keep the heart steady when the world turns cold. I tell them, do not seek to be remembered. Seek to remember. Remember the smell of the first rain after drought. Remember the warmth of the hand that held yours. Remember the faces of those who loved you, even when they had no words left. Wisdom, I think, is not knowledge. It is tenderness learned through loss. You cannot teach it. You can only live long enough to understand. In my youth, I believed strength meant never bending. Now I see that even the pine must bow to the wind to survive. Resilience is not hardness. It is grace. I spend my days walking the same paths I walked as a boy. Each stone feels familiar, each turn known, and yet everything is new, because I am new each time I pass. The same hill shows a different truth. To the young man climbing and the old man pausing halfway, the gods, I think, speak through age, not through thunder or lightning, but through stillness, through the quiet moments when we finally stop trying to be more and begin to see that what we are is enough. When I sit by the hearth, the fire's crackle sounds like laughter. Every flame bends toward the same light. Every ember glows with its own brief beauty. I see myself in them, burning, fading, and in fading, giving warmth. If you ask what I have learned from life, it is this: that peace does not come when the world is silent, but when we stop demanding that it speak. So I listen, to the wind in the eaves, to the voices of children outside, to the long, patient sigh of the sea. And in those sounds, I hear the answer I have been chasing all my life. The simple, steady truth that to live well is not to conquer, but to belong. Dawn arrives gently, as if the sky itself does not wish to disturb the peace inside the longhouse. The frost lies soft on the grass, and the first threads of sunlight slip quietly through the smoke hole, spilling over sleeping faces and the still shapes of tools by the wall. The air is cool, clean, and filled with that strange silence that follows change, the kind that is not empty, but full, like the pause between verses of a song. The old man's bed is quiet now. He lies as though resting, his hands folded, his face calm in a way that only the dead and the deeply loved can be. Someone has closed his eyes. Someone else has covered him with his favorite cloak, the one his wife wove long ago, dyed the color of storm clouds. The fire is still burning. It never went out through the night. No one spoke much, only the small sounds of wood settling, and the soft breathing of those who kept watch. When the children wake, they know without being told. They move softly, clutching each other's hands, their eyes wide not with fear, but with wonder. They have seen the seasons change, and now they see that life changes too, in its own gentle rhythm. His wife sits nearby, not crying, only watching. Her hands rest in her lap, still, yet full of memory. Every wrinkle, every scar, every mark on her fingers is a story they lived together. When she finally speaks, her voice is steady. "He is gone," she says, but what she means is, he has gone home. The neighbors come soon after. They bring food, a loaf of bread still warm, a pot of broth, a small jug of ale. They do not speak loudly, for grief is sacred here. It moves like mist, soft, enveloping, touching every heart in turn. The men lift the old warrior carefully, their hands sure but reverent. They carry him outside, where the morning light catches the frost and makes it shine. The sea glimmers in the distance, the same sea that carried him through his youth. For a moment, even the gulls are silent. He will be buried near the hill that overlooks the fjord. His sons have chosen the place, a spot where the grass grows high and the wind never rests. There they dig with slow, steady movements, their breath rising white in the cold. Each clump of earth smells rich, alive. When the grave is ready, they lower him down. His sword rests beside him, its blade wrapped in cloth, a small carving of a horse, a lock of his wife's hair, and a cup of ale are placed by his hands, not for wealth, but for company. The priest says a few words, some old, some new, half for the gods of the past, half for the God of the new faith. The two languages blend quietly, as if even heaven and earth have agreed to share this morning. When the earth falls over him, it makes a sound like rain. The youngest child drops a handful of flowers, frozen blue petals, fragile but bright. They rest on the mound, defiant against the cold. Afterward, the people stand in silence. No one hurries to leave. The wind hums softly through the grass, and somewhere a raven calls. It sounds like farewell, and yet also like promise. When the others return to the hall, the widow lingers a while longer. She kneels, touches the earth, and whispers something no one else can hear. Then she rises, slowly, gracefully, and walks home. By evening, the house smells of baking bread again. The fire crackles. Children laugh softly in the corner. Life, uninvited but unstoppable, continues its gentle work. The night will fall as it always does, and tomorrow the sun will rise, as it always has. But something in the world has shifted, not broken, only changed its shape. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel it, that quiet peace that follows a life well lived, like the warmth that lingers after the fire has gone out. The old warrior is gone, and yet he is everywhere, in the timber of the hall he built, in the children who bear his smile, in the song that someone hums without knowing why. The world goes on, carrying him in its breath. Night falls gently over the land. The air is clear and still, the stars sharp as frost against a deep blue sky. The world holds its breath, not in sorrow, but in reverence. The sea moves in slow silver lines, each wave folding into the next, endless, unhurried. Somewhere far below, the whales are singing, low, mournful tones that vibrate through the bones of the world. It feels like the earth itself is remembering. The longhouse stands quiet. Smoke drifts from the roof, carrying the scent of pine and hearthstone. Inside, the people sleep, curl beside one another, their dreams soft and full of warmth. The fire glows low, a pulse of orange deep within the ash, breathing like a living heart. Outside, snow begins to fall, slow, soundless, each flake a brief light before vanishing. It settles on the fields, on the mound by the fjord, on the path that leads down to the sea. There is no grief now, only balance, life and death woven together, like warp and weft on the loom, each thread strong because of the other. The wind passes through the valley, touching every door, every roof, every sleeping head. It carries whispers, not words, but feelings. Gratitude, memory, peace. The old warrior's name drifts among them, not as a cry, but as a song. If you close your eyes, you might feel it too. The hush of eternity resting just beyond the sound of your breath. The same air they once breathed, the same stars they once followed, the same fire still burning, passed from hand to hand across the ages. In this land, nothing truly ends. The mountains keep their watch. The forests murmur their secrets. The rivers carry the voices of those who came before, whispering them back to the sea. Somewhere a child is born, and her first cry echoes through the hall. A new life, a new season, another thread added to the weave. The circle begins again. The gods, old and new, look down and smile. The land sleeps. The people dream. And in their dreaming, the past and present become one. The sea sighs. The snow falls. The fire fades to ember. And still, beneath it all, the heart of the North beats steady, slow, eternal, alive. So rest now. Let the story fade. Let the world grow quiet around you. The wind hums softly through the pines, carrying with it the warmth of hearth and memory. The night deepens. The stars drift. And what remains are the soft, unbroken echoes. Through time,